Welcome back to another episode of the Becoming More podcast. I'm your host, Brett Yo, aka Becoming Brett on social media. I'm here today with my friend Rob from South Jersey. Rob, how you doing today?
It's the best Jersey. So yeah, it's all good. We got beautiful weather. It's overcast. It's kind of like 60 degrees, and it almost feels like Jersey spring, which is
Well,
4 days before it gets incredibly humid and muggy.
as I'm here in Baltimore, 2 hours south of you, I can tell you you're about to get rain.
Nice. That's good. Nothing I like better than
Because
rain on a Sunday.
it just started raining about 10 minutes ago. And this is what people tune in for is the weather forecast on a random Sunday in May.
We're going to give the time and temperature every 5 minutes in this podcast.
So Rob, I kind of like to ask every guest what the bottom line or like an elevator pitch of where their weight loss journey has progressed so far. I was just curious what yours might be.
So I'm 150 pounds down. I had gastric bypass surgery, vertical sleeve gastrectomy to be specific, June of this year. I lost 50 pounds on my own, and the other 100 has came off from back. So
That's
now
awesome.
my goal is my doctor says I'm supposed to be at like 180. So that's kind of what I'm gunning for, but we'll see.
Awesome. It's great. I mean, it's a great amount of weight lost in this time and getting healthier and all that. And we'll get on that. We'll get to that in a little bit. So I like to start with everyone, like kind of their background on how they got to the point where they would need to start a weight loss journey. So I like to start like, growing up, because were you like heavy growing up? Did you have like maybe just start gaining it in college, or some other experience that led to it?
So I was like a chubby Rubenesque kid growing up. One of those typical Italian kids where it was like, oh, I just eat like 4 meals a day, and that's totally normal. And two plates of pasta is totally acceptable if you're having Sunday gravy, which I'm gonna have after we're done all this. Not two plates, but that's kind of the deal. I had a really good childhood. I have nothing to say of why I gained weight other than the fact I really liked food. I was a heavy kid growing up. Repeatedly, my doctor would try to put me on a diet. And one of the fun ones from that was I was put on a diet when I was like 12. And I used to sneak food from my parents' house. So it was one of those where I stole a bagel and I would go run into the bathroom so no one could see me eat. And I would eat like over the toilet, which is a terrible way to eat a meal. But I would eat over the toilet. I remember my dad who, have you ever seen the Goldbergs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's him. Just imagine like
how can any of us from the general Philly area not watch a show based in Philly?
Yeah, so fun fact, everyone but my mother admits that was like our family dynamic, and I can't imagine why she doesn't want to admit to that. But like my dad was that guy who like, yeah, he takes his pants off when he comes in the door, but like I remember he just started banging the door like, what are you doing in the toilet? You went to the bathroom like an hour ago. And I dropped the bagel right into the toilet. So I had this weird problem right there where I was stuck at a crossroads, Brett. I had to either fish the bagel out of the toilet water and then find a way to hide it or flush it down. And 12-year-old me was like, you know what? I bet you I could flush this and get it through. So I flush the bagel, and somehow it gets down far enough that it doesn't look like anything's wrong. So, like another hour goes by, and next thing you know, toilet's clogged. So my dad pretty much goes to snake the toilet. He can't get the snake through, which is like, what the hell is this? So he comes to me, he's like, anything you want to tell me? And I'm like, no. He's like, toilet's slammed and I can't even get the snake through. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Totally normal. He's like, you're the only one who's here because my other two brothers were at soccer or something. It's just me and him in the house. So he knows clearly he didn't clog the toilet. So he does one of those things like, I'm going to have to turn the water off in the house, disconnect the toilet, and put it on our back deck and unload this thing. Is there anything you want to tell me? And I was like, no, you're good. He's like, anything I'm going to find in there? I'm like, I don't know. It's a toilet. So he literally takes out, our neighbors must have thought we were insane. We're on the back deck and he has the toilet out and he's literally now reaching in from the top and he can't get all the way through. And he's reaching in from the bottom and he pulls out this soggy this toilet bagel, and he's like, what is this? And he's screaming bloody murder. He's like, what is wrong with you? Who eats a bagel over the toilet? So I knew at an early age I had issues with food, and that there was something that was psychologically wrong with me of the level of how I either needed food, I stored food, I always wanted more food. But for the most part, my family did have a healthy plate growing. The bigger problem I had is when I got a car, I'd work a part-time job, and if I made like, I don't know, $100 a week at a part-time job, I'd spend like $50 of it on like Wendy's, Pizza Hut,
Mhm.
burger, like horrible fast food.
You gotta
So
go to
it's
the
like
Taco Bell.
I always do Taco Bell. Trust me, it's the greatest hits of every place I've ever been to a drive-through. Um, Fun fact: I went to visit my wife when she was out in Arizona, and they had Sonics before we had Sonics.
Mhm.
So we're literally driving, and I made her like stop in the middle of the desert to go to this one Sonic just so I could have Sonic. But it's small things like that that I realized along the way. Of like, I have a weird obsession with food, and it was one of those things that food has been a comfort item for me. It's been something that has, helped me. In true Italian fashion, food is something that I celebrate with. It's something that I use when I'm sad, when I'm angry. I use food and alcohol.
Yeah.
When I'm having a good time, it's food and alcohol. So it's one of those things that when I really started my journey, I realized I was spending somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 calories a day just through that process. And that's a lot of calories.
Yeah, and I mean, so early on when you eventually when you realized that you were spending that much, like, was it one of those realizations like, I can't believe that's how much I was doing? Or was it like, or were you still in it when you realized it? Or was it like
So,
maybe a few months in? Like, because like some of us, like, we won't track right away. And then
yeah.
then we'll go back like 3 months in after we start tracking and let's start eating right. And then you're like, what would a normal day be like? And then you realize that you ate like 8 to 10,000 calories a day.
Oh, yeah. You do this, oh, dear God. Like when you put it all in, you're like, I am a horrible human being in some sense. But so one of the things that was crazy was when the pandemic started, we started Dave Ramsey, like doing finances and tracking finances.
Hmm.
So one of the problems I realized I had throughout my life is I can justify anything. So I was a habitual spender, I was a habitual eater. So it was one of those things like as I got promotions or if I made extra money in overtime or if me and my wife did good, I would be able to say, you know what? I make X amount of money. I should be able to spend this. I worked this hard. I should be able to eat this. And the problem was I was building myself into debt and just getting broker and fatter where I shouldn't. And then when we started doing the Dave Ramsey budgeting program, I realized after tracking all our finances for 2 months, I was spending 600 a month in fast cash, and that
Wow.
was not with my wife. That was me like, hey, I'm coming home from work. Dinner is until 7. I'm going to get Burger King. It's
Hmm.
Whopper Wednesday. I'm going to do that. Uh, I'm going to have coffee in the morning, and I like coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, so I get the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Well, I'm here. I'm going to get a coffee roll. Let me get the coffee roll, and it's like, well, that's not really breakfast. That's like a snack. So let me go to Taco Bell for Taco Bell breakfast. Uh, so I was living Moss even before that was their phrase.
Yeah, and
But
like I remember, so often like I would get so at where I work they have a full cafeteria. But before I leave for work, I'd go to Chick-fil-A and get Chick-fil-A on the way to work,
of
and then
course, it's delicious.
and then get like a full like scrambled eggs, potatoes, whatever at work, and then have
They
lunch.
gave you scrambled eggs and potatoes at your work.
Hmm.
That is heavenly.
Yeah, they had like, because it's a large facility, so they have a lot of they have a lot of people. So it's like I guess you guys have Aramark up in South Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have like one called Sodexo here. Same
Yeah.
basic thing.
It's
So it's
Coke and
basically,
Pepsi.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's basically the same idea. It's not the greatest food, but it's better than like just having like grab and go, right?
So here's where it's even more messed up. So I was an administrator at a Catholic school for a minute, and they gave us free breakfast and lunch. And I gained 50 pounds in like 18 months because I would still do the Taco Bell breakfast like that and then be like, oh, we have extra bacon, egg, and cheeses. Do you want them? And I'm like, I'm not going to get extra bacon, egg, and cheese. And they're like, well, save room. It's pierogi day. I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. I can do pierogies too. And it would be one of those things where it's like, yeah, I don't know how I need to change my whole wardrobe. But it would also be one of those where it's like, no, I need a new wardrobe because I'm an administrator, not because I went up like 6 inches on my waist. So,
Yeah, and so often like I find that we get to this like mode where we just like don't even think about it too,
yeah,
like because it just becomes kind of like a
it's
normalcy,
habitual.
normalcy, yeah,
Yeah.
habitual, and Did you ever find like to the point where you were doing it and you were just like, I don't know why I'm doing it? Like, because I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
now I think we can look at it and be like, we like occasionally we have like a break because we're all like food addicted. So
yeah,
when we break from our normal routine and then we get like we have a pack of Oreos or we have something else, and then after I have it, like I had one this week, and then after I had it, I was like, that doesn't make me feel better. So was it while you were in it? Did you while you were in the worst, say the worst of it? Did you have those moments where you're like, I don't really feel like you kind of question why you even needed to do that?
yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's one of those. You ever get like I always say they're February driving days where it's cold, it's miserable, it's dark both ways, like driving up and going home. For all those
Yeah.
people in California listening, yeah, I hate you. But for us in the Northeast, like February is where like my soul slowly starts to like get crushed a little, where it's you don't even notice things. So it's like I would just naturally not even realize like, oh, I'm in the Taco Bell parking lot. Like I guess that we're getting breakfast now because I'm
Hmm.
here. And it became like just part of the routine. And you're cycling in an extra 750 to 1,500 calories into your diet without even thinking twice. And it's a problem. Like, how do you mentally break those, routines that you build?
Definitely not easily. And I mean,
No,
and they still trigger you, like, if, because occasionally if you want to go back and have something from that place,
absolutely.
and then sometimes like you're craving it like all week, even after you
Yeah.
had it the one time. So we talked about like the part of the food addiction. So when you got at your heaviest, like what did you weigh?
So my heaviest, I was 365 pounds. And it
Okay.
was one of those things that I had started a new job. I was actually the happiest I ever was in my career and just really enjoyed myself. But it was one of those things where it was like, yeah, I'm eating, but I'm happy. You know, nah, I don't need to exercise because I'm doing some extra stuff for work. But like, I was very happy and good. And it was one of those things that summer, um, I flat out went to my pulmonologist appointment, which is the person who checks your breathing when you have sleep apnea.
Hmm.
And my pulmonologist was like, "Hey, Rob, friendly thing to just bring up. You've gained like 30 pounds every year that you've come in for your pulmonology appointment." I'm like, "Well, that's interesting." Like oh, fun fact. Like it's like, no, he's trying to tell you you're gaining weight at the same level. So he's like, I have to tell you, I'm looking at your readout from the past year. You're burning out your CPAP machine. I'm like, oh wow. So I guess we just got to get a bigger one, right? He's like, no, no, no. You don't understand. You're at the big industrial model CPAP. After this, there's no other CPAP. I'm like, oh, so what? I'll just get like bad night's sleep now? They're like, no, there's a very good chance you could go to sleep and you could die if you continue on this. And I was like, oh, well, that's not good. So, in true men's fashion, I suppressed that knowledge. I came home. My wife asked me how the doctor's appointment was, and I told her, "Good. I just got to go down and do some work, and I'm a teacher in the summertime, so uh, clearly there's nothing I have to do." And I'm going on the computer. I'm quickly, rapidly, like searching like how to lose weight really, really fast. And
Yeah.
ironically, there's like 15 programs that I tried before that one that just didn't work, and I gained more weight on. So I
So,
finally saw like
sorry, I just had a question
yeah,
about the before you keep going, um because I also have sleep apnea, um
yes,
and so I think it's important because people don't talk about it that often.
no, they
um
don't.
so because I did a sleep study in like 2015, I think
Yeah.
2016, I don't remember, it was one or the other. um and like I had like, they started me out with the small mask, like the nose one, and
Oh
then
yeah.
and
No,
and and
I
and and,
didn't.
and then I switched to the full face because they were like, you lost like it said I stopped breathing like 170 times in
Yeah.
like an hour or whatever the
Oh yeah.
recording or whatever. And I was on the industrial, like this big one.
Oh yeah.
um
You had my box.
yeah, I had it. I don't anymore. I have a smaller one now. But I was on like a high reading too. It was like 16 or something. I don't know what that means.
Humble brag right there too. Like, oh, I'm on the small now. Like,
Yeah, so,
yeah,
so
good for you,
I
Brad.
recently, because I hit the 5-year mark, so they and my machine was starting to have the face mask one. I was always getting air was always slipping out of the top around my
Yeah.
nose. So I switched to like a nose only one, and it's a smaller unit, which is nice because it doesn't take up as much space on my side table. But it's scary because if you I hate wearing it, but I do.
See, I love
um
wearing it. I
Yeah.
have to tell you, like, I never sleep better than my sleep mask.
Yeah.
So the funny thing with the Darth Vader one, which is what we're talking about, everyone,
Yeah.
it literally looks like the mouthpiece for Darth
Hmm.
Vader. You know, and essentially it just consumes your face. But here's another one where like I didn't even see my like size at a certain point. Like I'd go to the pulmonologist and be like, my mask is leaving lines on my face. Like it would naturally leave lines. And he's like, well, it's because you know how they politely try to tell you things like, well, it's because you have excess weight on your face and it's pressing into the machine. Like he didn't have the nerve to tell me like you have a fat face. And it was one of those like I couldn't even come to terms with the fact that he's telling me I have a fat face. I'm like, oh, it's clearly there's something defective in this mask that they make millions of, and I've gotten 7 in a row that don't work. It's one of those where like I never saw myself as that big, even when I was that big,
Yeah.
until they finally said like, hey, there's a good chance you're going to die.
Yeah.
So
It's one of the variables, right? It was one of the
yeah.
variables is the issue, and it wasn't the 7 masks.
Oh yeah, and then it's one of those too where it's like, have you ever had anyone in your family who was overweight who just passed away in their sleep? I'm like, oh, I've had like 4 or 5 of those people, and like he's like, interesting. And then of course I was like, yeah, that is interesting. Like not putting together any of
Hmm.
these dots,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you go to the pulmonologist, and they get you to do the CPAP, and then I'm sorry I interrupted your as you were going, because I just wanted to talk about CPAP or sleep apnea because
No, we can go wherever we want.
yeah.
I'll
Okay.
talk forever, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 17-part series.
Yeah, 17-part series on how to sleep correctly. Okay, so you have sleep apnea, you use a CPAP, you're at your heaviest, right? At 365 when you see the pulmonologist. And then how does that so you go to like lose weight quickly, you Googled, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
how does that lead you to getting set up to go meet with like the bariatric
So
clinic or
so
surgeon?
I went to my primary care doctor and pretty much said like, hey, by the way, I'm overweight. And he's like, yeah, and first off, my primary care doctor is amazing, but it's one of those where I'm like, I think I really need to consider like gastric bypass surgery or something like that. He's like, well, I've told you that for the last 5 years. I'm like, did you? And he's like, yeah, look, here's in the chart where I've said you've gained weight every year possible. You are now at a point where you need to have it. And he's like, here's the referrals that I kept because you didn't take them and you left them in the office. They're all in your chart because I'm that guy. Shout out to having an Italian doctor who will keep things in your file for spite. Um, he's a family friend, people. So don't think that it's a malpractice or HIPAA or anything on this. It's literally because he's like, no, I've told you need to do this for years. What makes this time different? I'm like, well, I was told I was going to die. Like, well, that's good. Not that you could die, but like you're actually listening for a change. So I went into Penn Medicine to get my stuff done. And this is how dumb I was. I made the referral, and my wife works for Penn. So it comes, I tried to do it without her knowing. So, like, we're coming home. And also, if you learn anything from this story, I'm a terrible liar. So the worst thing I could possibly do is lie. So when I was like, oh, did you happen to make a referral for Penn the other day? I was like, no. She's like, because your referral came up in the charts that I check. And I was like, oh, did it? Well, how did that happen? She's like, are you going for gastric bypass surgery? And I was like, yeah. And we had like a whole talk about that because I was so embarrassed. And I think one of the things that, I use humor to lighten it, but um, it was one of those things that like I was so ashamed and embarrassed of the weight that I had gotten and the fact that I needed help more than what I could do. Made it very tough for me to even come to terms with that. Like to have to tell my wife that like I need to do this to survive. And she couldn't have been more supportive of it. Originally, I wasn't going to tell anyone that I was getting this surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to do it and live my life. And she was like, do you think psychologically that's good for you? And everyone's different. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
there's a right or wrong way to do it, but she was the one who really inspired me to make an Instagram page to keep account of it, to actually have conversations with my close friends and family members one at a time. She's the one who made sure I knew where the local support groups were so I could go and feel comfortable. And it's something that we just don't talk about. There's such a mental health aspect of weight loss that we don't talk about, Brett. It's one of those things that the whys of why we're eating have so many psychological compounding parts of it. How we binge or why we crave food has a psychological aspect of it. And a lot of the times we take this macho approach of we don't admit that mental health's real or that we don't need it, or worse yet, that if you do need mental health, there's something wrong with you. And it's one of those things that, I think we need to get out there more in the entire community is that, you need to be psychologically healthy to truly be fully healthy.
Yeah, I mean, so something I brought up before is, I lost 100 pounds
Yeah.
without really being right that way.
Yeah.
Because you can do it without. I mean, I was 600 pounds, so it was a little. It was a lesser amount than.
No, don't
Oh,
humble brag yourself.
no,
100-pound weight loss anywhere, because that's something dudes do. We neg
yeah,
ourselves, and that's a psychological thing, man. It's like we neg ourselves on our accomplishment. It's like, no, you lost the fucking 100 pounds on your
yeah.
own. That's amazing. Also, we have
That's
to edit this out, so I'm sorry.
no, we don't.
Uh, okay,
No,
great.
no, 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 no. I don't want to edit anything. It's more work. Also, so I lost 100 pounds, and I wasn't really mentally right. And our friend Gormy, who you were just on his podcast, and I've been on it before. He had asked me after I had the 100 pounds lost if I would be on his podcast, and I said no because I felt like I needed to be at a more significant weight loss, even though that is significant weight loss again,
It is,
mental.
yeah.
But I did his podcast about a year later, like a year and a month, I think later. And when I did it, I lost 200 because more significant. Also, but the significance wasn't the weight loss; it was the mindset, because I finally got like my mindset right on it, because
Absolutely.
it took me off from the pandemic to have the time to like really think about like what I was doing. Because before that, you're always like, you're busy, you're like got everything going on, and then all of a sudden the whole world stops and you got time. And so many people, they complain because they had the COVID 15 or 50, and like you and I and others kept going on our goals. Well, some people didn't. It just depended on, there's a lot going on, but it's really impressive. And the mindset is just so important. And it's not just mindset, it's also like just being able to talk about when you have issues or problems and having someone to talk to about it, rather than just
Yeah.
like bottling it up like you do when you're obese and you don't want to talk about anything because
Yeah.
it hurts.
And a lot of the times, like something that I've worked with my psychologist with is food doesn't talk back to me. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things that I can justify my feelings with food because food doesn't judge me. Food doesn't talk back to me. Food doesn't make an excuse for me. So it was one of those things that when I was sad, food was absolutely there for me, or I could use it as a comforting thing. Or even it was something that I could make for other people and they liked food. So it was a way of acceptance. It played a major part of how my relationships and my interactions with people were.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I don't know if it's for you. So I've heard a lot of people that were heavier. A lot of times they'll say, they were the funny fat guy because they would hit. So they'd take the sting out of it before people could say it about them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That wasn't me. Um,
See, I thought I was funny, and my close friends will tell you, no, Rob, you're really not funny.
I mean, I can attest to that, having met you in person.
Yes, I'm the funniest person in my head, and anyone who else knows me, my buddy Matt Frank will listen to this. Used to call me Fozzie Bear even from kindergarten because like you're just not funny. You try really hard, but you're not funny.
So, so,
But
so,
I think that's something we mentally do is, as a fat guy, when you go into a room, there's like three things I always say that we do. One is we find a chair that we need to get near so that if everyone sits down, it's a chair that would fit us.
that's very true.
So the second thing you always do is you kind of size everyone up and see, at least you had like a positive approach to it. One of the things I would do is I would kind of mentally check everyone so that I knew if they were going to make a fat comment to me, I had something almost like holstered or registered in almost like a Don Rickles fashion. Shout out to everyone listening who's under 30. I'm sure you'll get these references. But it was this Don Rickles fashion of like, yep, I'm going to make fun of your gap tooth or the bad part in your hair, or that, or I'd say something like, "Is your beard uneven?" And I knew how to make these comments so that if they made it to me, I could punch them right back, or I would hit them first to put them on their heels,
Yeah.
so that my weight didn't show up. And the third thing was just working in rooms that people didn't see me as, oh, that's the really fat guy in the room. That's the funny guy, or that's the outgoing guy, or that's the person people like.
Hmm.
So part of that process was just trying to go out of my way to do things that I didn't even like, but because I knew other people liked them, I would do them.
Yeah, and so for me, I was very introverted and shy, so I didn't do that. So a lot of mine was I found solace in the food.
Yeah,
Um, like you mentioned before. And so when I over time I become less that way, obviously
yeah,
with the food, but also as the journey goes on and I feel like um, as you get more into it and like you start to believe in yourself, you get more confident, you get more able to come out of your shell. Like so many we've seen in the weight loss community on Instagram, because like as they get more confident, they're not as worried about what other people think, and because you get a shit ton of positivity,
yeah.
um, and a little negativity every now and then from people, but I could care less.
There's
Um,
nothing better than having a comment made from someone who has like 2 followers and no posts themselves. And I'm like, wow, good job by you. You're spending your day on a burner account,
yeah.
trolling the internet for people who are losing weight. So there's a special place in hell for those people. So
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how people take the time to do that, and I'm sure this will be on YouTube, and people love to do that on YouTube in the YouTube comments because it's a troll fest,
yeah.
if they even find it. So back to let's talk about your journey a little bit more. So you go ahead and you decide to get the bariatric surgery. Talk about it with your wife. Go through, and she helps you a lot. So you get the when did you get the surgery again?
So it was one of those things. I was really happy with my program. They do a really good job of, you have to do a psych eval, you have to attend like 5 support meetings beforehand, you have to see a nutritionist, you have to map out what your day is going to look like at each stage. Like they make you do the work so that you're successful. And it takes like 5 to 6 months to get all of that plus the appointments. And there was a point where when I started to track the food from there, it was like, oh, look at this. The realization we talked about was like, okay, we got 15,000 calories. So I'd go for like the first meeting. They'd be like, how about you just try to get to like 12,000 calories? And I was like, well, that seems doable. And I think the problem I'd make before is every other diet I did beforehand, be like, I'd go to 2,000 calories.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm going from 15,000 to 2,000. I can't imagine that'll work.
And it's
And
on
then
it's on all or nothing mentality as soon as
yeah,
you do that, right? And
exactly.
that'll work for 2 weeks, and then you'll be back
Yeah.
to
I just have to knock out 3 of my 18 cheesy gordita crunchies in a week, and I can hit that goal. And sadly, that is the exact math that I used to figure that out.
and hey, they don't have those anymore. So
I know. Yeah, if they ever bring it back, you're going to see the return of this. We have Rob back, and he's gained 365 pounds, living moss. But no, it was one of those things that, like, from doing the work and doing the process, I was really ready when I came out of it. And it was one of those things that I'd actually lost 50 pounds prior to surgery just by doing things like eating with my left hand, chewing my food 23 times. Um, and that was one of those things that was crazy because, like, everyone who's going through, try to figure out how many times you chew your food when you're hungry, and it's some obscenely low number. So, like, I started at chewing my food like 4 or 5 times,
mhm.
which is essentially the same as like a shark does. Like, it's like just enough chomps to break it up to like put it down the guzzle. But it was small things like that that really started to help me get the ball rolling so that I was healthy and ready to even get the surgery.
Awesome.
I don't know if I answered that question.
You didn't. My question was, when did you get the surgery?
Oh yeah, yeah, I didn't answer that at all. So I
Fine.
was supposed to get it. I was supposed to get it originally. Like, I took a super aggressive approach. I wanted it on spring break of my school year because
Hmm.
I'm a teacher, and I was like, oh, I'll just get it done on like that Friday, and I can come back the next week, and I'll be good to go. And my wife actually suggested, like, well, what if there's a complication? What if something goes wrong? Why don't you at least just wait till summer? So then the pandemic happened. Uh, and I somehow was still able to get the Monday after Father's Day, which is the first day I had off from school. So I got the exact date I wanted for my surgery, even with the pandemic,
Hmm.
because we got everything. So we're coming up on a year, unless this airs in like end of June. And then in that case, I've already hit a year. So
Let's say you've hit a year.
unless he deletes this, and then I've never hit this goal. So
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you're a year in, you've lost the weight we mentioned earlier. I noticed you, I'll say this, at first was the walking, because it was something I did for a while.
Yeah, and I saw what you did, and I'll be honest, I have to cite my sources as a history teacher. Um, I saw you do it, and in full disclosure, I was like, well, he's doing it. Why can't I do it? And it was one of those things that like I started to do it, and after the first couple of days, because I'd always set an ambitious goal of 15K a day, but it'd be
Hmm.
like, if I hit it 5 out of 7 days, like that's still good, and I need some rest. Then it would be like, oh, let me do this, and then next thing you know, I'm like, he did like 150 days in a row. That's really amazing. So I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? Let me see how many days I can do it in a row. And it was funny because this is actually really great, or it's not, but we're gonna tell it anyway. Um, so Fitbit only updated your streak on it in October. So all of a sudden, I get the alert on my Fitbit. It's that Saturday that Halloween was, and I had gone out with some family members for some social distance, like post trick or treating stuff, because we didn't take the kids out trick or treating. We did like
Hmm.
a hey, instead of torturing you by walking house to house and doing this whole COVID thing, we're gonna buy 20 bucks of your favorite candy and just dump it on you, like a
Hmm.
money heist, which was pretty awesome. It was a dream of mine as a kid. But anyway, like at 10 o'clock at night, I'm watching scary movies, and the alert on my phone goes like, "Hey, you're at like day 63 of your streak." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't hit it, and I have like 13,000 steps to do, and it's 10:30 at night." So I actually went out, and where I live, there's a main street where there's all the bars, and they were still having socially distance or not Halloween. So
Hmm.
you see all these people walking out, and like they're uh, going out Halloween clothes. And then here I am in my pajamas and slippers, literally walking up and down the street looking like a nutter. Um, like literally looking at my phone, like, okay, good. All right, I hit 1500. I can turn around and go back. And I just kind of said to myself, this is going to be a non negotiable. And I hit
Hmm.
100 days, and that was amazing. And then I just hit 200 days, and I was like, I guess I'm going to keep doing this. And it's just been phenomenal to kind of see where this goes.
Yeah. So speaking of that, so I had 191 because I stopped my active streak. So it's funny too. You mentioned that it started around Halloween was when they gave you like the update with the streak. Because
Yeah.
like I wish I had that, because
Yeah.
it wasn't something that was on Fitbit, and I'm having a love hate relation, mostly hate relationship with my Fitbit lately, because I'm having trouble syncing. Um,
Yeah.
but
I had to get a brand new one,
yeah,
but we'll talk off air about
yeah,
that because Fitbit.
yeah, Fitbit. So something I wanted to do. This is not going to work well. So I'm going to take off my background because hey, that's what I actually look like. So I wanted to present this to you because this is a champion of steps.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
How'd
not
you get that?
not really steps. This is my replica belt.
That is a nice replica belt.
Yeah, it's a winged eagle. I bought it years ago, but I have it. This is wrestling, but I have it signed by Ric Flair
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
and Shawn Michaels.
That is really amazing.
Yeah, but my metaphor is because you're the champ now, because I gave
Now,
up
so
on
I
mine.
get the belt,
Well,
guys. You heard it here on Brett's podcast. He is giving me that belt.
I'll give you
Oh
a
my
belt.
goodness, Brett! I
I'll give
can't
you a
wait to come
belt.
up
And I
and
just
get it.
turned.
No, that one. It's I know how wrestling works. So I am so happy that you gave me that. It really means a lot, and I'll keep it in good health. I'll make sure it's in all my posts. You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Brett is giving me an autographed Ric Flair belt for my step goals, and Fitbit is going to give us 2 new Fitbits because they love us as well.
I'm sure they're listening.
Yes.
But yeah, because like doing that every day is not easy, because there are days when
No,
you don't want to, and there are days when it gets, well, especially like in the summer, it's
it's
hot as
hot.
hell. It
It's hot.
rains, it snows, it's dark. Especially I stopped because it was getting dark, and I was also just I just didn't have enough time for everything. And just wasn't. And I was also going to the gym. I also go to the gym like 4 days a week, so
Yeah.
I kind of pivoted to that more than just cardio. But I mean, everybody has different goals and stuff like that.
So it
So
was good because you mentioned that because I have a treadmill in my basement. Here's the fun thing. Part of what helped me with dealing with my binging and my fast food cravings is my psychologist worked on every time you don't um, take a binge or you don't go to the drive-thru,
Hmm.
take $10, which was the average amount that I could justify spending. So I'd always figure out how to keep my order on $10. Take $10 and put it in like a safe keepings account. So I have a Boba Fett bank, and I would put the $10 in the Boba Fett bank.
Hmm.
We're going to do a 17-part Star Wars series as well, so this is going to be good. But I put it in, and then I was like, that's curious. After the pandemic happened, I wonder how much I have in here, and I had like $700.
Wow.
So I actually started my renovating in my home gym just based on I wasn't going Wednesdays.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And that's amazing when you put it in that context, because how much of that was just wasted on junk that you didn't really need, right?
For junk that hurt us, and it was
Or hurt us.
crazy.
Yeah. It definitely, definitely
But
does.
yeah, the crazier part then, the treadmill broke around November. And it
Hmm.
was one of those where like I had been doing a little bit of treadmill work, but I was like, okay, I need to get this repaired. So the repair person was like, oh, it's not coming in until like January. I'm like, that's not going to work for me. So I got like a private repair person outside of the warranty to get it. And they were like, well, it's going to take like 4 days. And it was like the 4 days where it was like 20 degrees out. So I literally like dressed in 18 layers because I said, no, I'm not losing this based on weather. But,
Hmm.
and then I spent the entire winter just on the treadmill.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I hate treadmills, like with a
Yeah, they're
passion.
torturous. They're torturous.
I have to go
So
off.
I put a TV in front of mine,
I,
and so I would watch literally a movie every day on the treadmill to get my step goal.
mhm. Yeah, I use them at the gym for 5 minutes as a warm up to get my heart rate
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
and even that, I'm just like, get me off this goddamn treadmill.
Oh yeah,
Um,
because you sit on the treadmill and it's like, okay, 5 minutes. All right, that's 2.5 sessions I got to do, or 5 1 minute sessions.
yeah,
Okay, 1 minute's done. Okay, we have 4 minutes
mhm,
left. You're literally just counting down. And I
yeah,
always have the debate with people: what's the worst TV selection, treadmill at the gym or airplane? It's literally like television for what nobody wants anymore. So it's like,
yeah.
hey, here's CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and like Pogs, a documentary on Pogs. Again, anyone
So
under
a
30,
lot of
you're gonna
times,
love this episode.
I'll play like Pogs, Jesus. A lot of times I'll play YouTube videos when I'm on it to kind of watch,
Yeah,
because I'll put, treadmills at my gym have like the two cup holder, I call them cup holder
yeah,
sides. I'll put my phone in one of them and I'll just have it on like portrait mode, but I can still see it. But even
yeah.
that, I'm just like, God, I want to get off this thing. Um,
I want to be one of those older dudes who has the iPad on the treadmill,
my,
because
my, my,
I
one of
do
my
that at
buddies does
home, but
that.
like, oh yeah, I do it at home, and it's like I have it plugged in, so I'll literally be playing a game on my iPad while still watching the TV, and I still don't enjoy the treadmill time. But
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
always see those dudes at the gym, and I'm just like, wow, that's a there is no shame in that game that you have that set up.
yeah, yeah. But yet, like, I'll walk around outside for like 3 hours, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, because it's beautiful. You
Yeah,
get outside, and it's nice and it's easy.
yeah. Um, So as you were, so after your surgery, I know that usually people that have the surgery, different versions of surgeries, they plateau for like a week or so, after their few weeks of being on the um, reduced
Yeah,
intake, let's say.
yeah.
So did you have any like prolonged plateaus or just like short ones?
So so for me, it was so the first 2 weeks, it's all liquid diet, and you really can't eat anything. Like it's just clear liquid. So it's
Hmm.
literally bone broth and water is all you're getting. Um, so for me, like the weight just fell off at that point, which it obviously will. You then go to purees for like 2 weeks, which is essentially baby food level, and then you slowly work up. The first 4 months, it's one of those where um, you lose like 5 pounds a week for some people. Like I was losing 5 pounds a week because I was getting stir crazy in the summertime. Still had to
Hmm.
like walk and move around and get out of my house. So it was one of those where I made a mistake of like I could eat a Whopper and I could still lose like 3 pounds in a day while still eating a Whopper. So it was one of those where like I got naturally to the point where I'm like, yeah, it's a terrible thing. Do not do this at home, people. But it was one of those things where for a while I kind of got off like checking every single one of my calories because I was still losing weight and working out. It wasn't that big of a deal. And then around January, I hit a stall and just could not get the weight off. Like I would dance up, like I would lose 3 pounds, gain four, lose 2 pounds, gain one,
Hmm.
and I just was spinning my wheels. And every other time in my weight loss journey, when that happens, I would just be like, okay, well, I guess this is my new weight. Let's hang the mission accomplished sign. And this is my new weight. And the thing I would always do whenever I hit a weight before, I would stop working out and go back to eating cheeseburgers every day.
Hmm.
So it was one of those things that, like, you do the worst thing for you. You stop the exercise and you start introducing all that terrible food for you again. And then next thing you know, you have no idea why you gained all the weight back in the 2 months that took you 6 months to lose. So the thing I didn't do this time is I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay the course. I'm going to keep working. And now it comes down to, like, on a good week, I'll lose maybe, really now it's a month. I have to look at it at a month stance. And if I can lose 3 to 4 pounds a month right now, that's a great month for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Cause I know for me, I've had plateaus just like that, what you were mentioning, like the yo-yo of like up 3, down 4, up 2, down 3, or whatever
Yeah.
version of it is. And like I had gone through that last fall after I hit the 200 and had been on, finally did the first podcast I did. And then it was December. So it's just like I've hit that in like late August. December, I was still like right around that same number because I just kept going back and forth, and like, not that it was for a lack of effort or trying. It just was. I I think over the summer I had really messed up my uh, body's systems, let's say, because I the way I was dieting and I didn't do like, so I needed to basically reverse it and and then get back on track with it like I do carb cycling now, but everybody does something different. But I
So
didn't
so
realize
you
what I
say
had
that, and I literally know nothing about it. Can you just kind of walk me through a
about
little
carb
bit of that?
cycling.
Yeah, I know nothing.
Okay, so you basically eat pretty low carb throughout the week. So for instance, like right now I'm doing this week. So I intermittent fast as well. So I don't usually eat breakfast. I have a shake I make, which is like for some kind of fruit, like blueberries or banana, protein powder, powdered peanut butter, and ice and almond milk. And that's like if I go to the gym before work, because if I do that, my body will need something after
Yeah,
working out. Otherwise, I don't eat until noon, and then I have lunch, which is like right now is like I have like a chicken sausage sandwich. So I have like a hoagie roll, 2 sausages, and then like a bag of like frozen broccoli or something. So that's like
nice.
my lunch. Then I have like a snack meal, which is yogurt with like powdered peanut butter and protein powder and some Oreos, or not Oreo, Jesus, some Cheerios, like
Subliminally coming right back in.
some they're like the oat crunch Cheerios. So I guess I have more fiber. And then for dinner I have like chicken skewers, and then
Yeah,
as a late night snack I have a power bar protein bar
nice.
if I feel like it. So that's like my day, right? That's like Monday through Friday. And then Saturday I have one. So I had one high carb meal, which was up to like 100 carbs. And then Sunday I have one high carb meal, which is up to 100 carbs. Everything else stays the same. And then and sometimes I'll switch out, like instead of having like the skewers, we'll go out to eat or something. And I'll have like chicken and vegetable, something like that, some kind of protein, some kind of vegetable, but not like a starchy one like potato. And then so I do that carb. I have the high carb meals on the weekend, and then I think the idea is it shocks your body into think, so it doesn't stay with like the one.
Yeah,
Uh, so you're constantly changing like what your body's getting,
got it.
and then it keeps going with the loss instead of trying to store it. I work with a nutritionist who has me on this plan, so that's why I do it the way I've been doing it, and it's worked. I've lost about 50 pounds since January.
That's great.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's worked well. But then sometimes like I go, like all of us, I feel.
that's a 10-pound loss a month, Brett. That's very good.
Oh yeah,
You
I
can
know.
say it's worked great.
Oh yeah, yeah, it has. And then sometimes you go off the rails a little bit, and then you have a month like I had last month where I think I gained or I lost, but it was like very little. And it can be, some people would say it's a setback or it's a time to like pack it in, and it's just one of the things where no, it's just how it is, because I know that I'll get back on track. And some people are like, well, why can't you lose it in 2 years? Like all your weight? Like, why couldn't you lose it in two
Yeah.
years? And I always say, well, because I need to do something sustainable. And sometimes I just want, so often people will ask me like what I think of like the Quest version of a Reese's cup or the Justin's version of Reese's cup. And I'm like, if you want a Reese's cup, just have a fucking Reese's cup.
Yeah.
Like, cause and I use the F word, but whatever. But
No, you're good.
and it's my show.
Yeah.
um,
You kind of get to set the rules on that. And I already
yeah,
broke the rule first. So.
yeah. But it's something where, if I want something like that, I'm just going to have it, because if I don't have it, I'm going to think about it and I'm going to want it. And
Yeah.
I've tried the alternatives and they're not very good. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's all about texture. Me and Gormy talked about this on the second episode of the show. We talked about it for like at least 5 minutes of the differences.
So we're going to go for a solid 10 on why I feel it is fine to do a solid substitute-based meal. So, no, like for me, like it's one of those, like I'll do Quest pizza on a Friday night. It is not the same as the pizza that my wife makes homemade for them and the kids. But for me, it psychologically hits that I am having pizza on a Friday night.
Yeah, okay, I'm totally with you on that. I've done the Quest, and I found this one at Target that was buffalo chicken on a cauliflower crust that was very similar.
Yeah, we've already discussed that. It freaks me out. Like just like cauliflower be cauliflower. We gotta stop like making it be everything. Big cauliflower probably paid thousands of dollars, millions even, just to make sure that we all. Hey, did you see this hoagie roll? It's all cauliflower. Yeah. Oh yeah. You watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
those 2 chicken sausages you're having in lunch, it's cauliflower, man. It's all in there. Tastes just the same, and it doesn't. It never does.
No. But I will say I've had cauliflower pizza a few times, and I think it's fine because it's just the base. It's fine
compared to like Elio's, or like compared to like good pizza. Like
compared
you come into Philly and I take
compared to Elio's. I mean, exactly. Quest pizza is not good pizza either. I mean,
compared to Elio's, I'll take Quest. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Don't even make that thing.
I haven't had I mean, we're the same age, but I haven't had Elio's in like.
Wait do you have kids? You get to have all the greatest hits back. Elio's, Dino Nuggets.
Dino Nuggets.
Nothing better than a late night when the kids go to bed and they're like, "Where did all your Dino Nuggets?" How about some Dunkaroos? I saw. I don't even think they have them anymore. Do they have Dunkaroos?
Yeah,
they are.
I was at a Wawa and they had them. Here,
so this shows how terrible of a human being I am. Some ways is I was having a discussion with my wife, and I was like, it'd be great if they just sold the Dunkaroos frosting without the cookies. Because let's be honest, the cookie is literally you try to shovel as much on as possible. She's like, they do. It's called frosting. And it was one of those where I was like, yeah, that is a terrible move. And then I kind of did so can I just buy like a thing of frosting and eat that? And she's like, no, that's horrible for you. But like
my favorite thing, and it's something I'm going to have at some point, is I came across this cookie dough last year, edible cookie dough from this. It's like no baked.
Yeah.
And it's just like it tastes like it would if you took the cookie dough right after you're making it in the mixing bowl. It's so good. I don't get it because I know what'll happen.
It's one of those too.
But it's one of these things. So that I want it for something. Like at some point I'm going to have it again because it just tastes amazing. But it's also like, is it really something I need? It's not something I need, but it's kind of something I heard on another podcast was, is it like, so often when we say something that isn't on our plan or isn't something that we should eat, we'll say you can't have it. And it's more of a, and that kind of, you kind of
you can have
yourself.
It, just don't have 57 Reese's cups. Like,
well, yeah. And, but I think that they can't have it too is, and this is what was mentioned on this other podcast was, when you say can't have it versus saying I don't want it, because if you say you don't want it, you're not like saying it's impossible for you to have it, because as soon as you say can't, like you're going to want it.
Yeah. Well, I will say for anyone looking to read a book in this new age, one of the things that really helped me was weight loss surgery does not cure your food addiction. And I realized, like, I'm a kid who ate a bagel over a toilet. I have a food addiction. Like, let's just call it what it is.
That didn't
bagel. Go exactly. Yeah, nothing like a toilet bagel from South Jersey that really captures all the moisture. But anyway, no, it's one of those things that, like, I still love food. I'm always going to love food. My trick now is, like, yes, I'm going to have one Reese's egg. I'm not going to buy the 24 pack and then not know why they're all gone before Easter, because that used to happen.
I will say the day after Easter is always nice for that because
Oh, I would justify that too. It's trust me. There was three purchases of Reese eggs during the Easter season. There was the hey, we should get these early before they jack the prices up, and those never lasted. Then there were the hey, these gotta last for the kids, but I'm gonna eat them all out of their basket on Easter Day. And then there was the no, 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 kids, I'm gonna get you more Easter candy on Easter Monday, and then I would buy and eat theirs too. So it's a nasty thing where I think my kids now, like, they don't even like Reese cups because they're like, well, we never get them, and when we do, it's just you hovering over us while we like chew it.
so you can vicariously live through their enjoyment of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I usually have a couple each Easter. I always like the egg over any other incarnations they make. I think it's just a mental thing, honestly. But usually I used to get like multiple of the packs because I'd get the 6-pack or a bunch of the 2-pack ones that would
yeah.
last. I'd have them in the fridge for like weeks.
Good for you. Nothing survived for me.
I mean, I'd get like 12 packs of them, so it was a lot of them. So they last for a while. But now I have like one or two of the 2-packs throughout the entire spring, right? Instead of having like 24.
Yeah,
Which is a lot better. And you kind of just it's more about that moderation because you don't need it all the time and you don't need it constantly. But every now and then when I get that craving, I substitute. And I do the same thing with my meals. Like if I used to have like a big, I know we keep talking about food, but I've always like been a pretzels. Like pretzels were like my number one snack as a kid. So
well, we
like
live in a good area, and it doesn't help
yeah,
that like
yeah.
for those of you not in Philadelphia, we do a soft pretzel, which is phenomenal, and somehow we only charge like 32 cents for one of them. So
Hmm.
you get a warm, hot, fresh pretzel for like 32 cents.
Yeah,
You know,
well, the ones I'm talking about are more the hard pretzels, but soft
okay, then
pretzels
never
also.
mind, and we can edit that out.
No, soft pretzels I also like a lot. There was a bakery in my hometown that made these amazing soft pretzels. They closed down a few years ago, but I would even go back and get them, and even like I don't know 3 years ago when I last had them, I guess they were still like 40 cents a pretzel or
Yeah,
something like that, and it which is insane because like I could buy 9 pretzels for the same price as one Annie Ann's pretzel.
exactly.
And so I'm like, oh,
So
I'll get 9 pretzels.
you have a South Philly Pretzel Company is like now the franchise chain of all them, and they're literally on every street corner. Like where I go to walk, I have to walk by the pretzel.
The Philly Pretzel Factory.
Yeah, it's like now it's like a franchise chain. So like there's a whole bunch of them, but like
Yeah,
the original ones in South Philly are amazing. But like every now and then I'll treat my kids to it after school, and they're like, "Well, one pretzel is $1.50, but 2 dozen are $3." And my inherent cheapness is like, "Yeah, absolutely, 3 dozen for $3. Who wouldn't get that?" And then I realized like I ate 27 pretzels in 2 days,
yeah.
and that's a problem.
And one of those pretzels is like 300 calories
No, yeah. And the
because
worst part is
I used to
the
track it.
pretzel only lasts, yeah, and the pretzel only lasts for like one day because it's so soft and amazing the first day. The second day, it becomes this rock hard thing that you could throw at a window and break it.
Yeah, yeah. So they have the Philly Pretzel Factory down here. There's a few of them, and
Yeah,
occasionally I'll go, but so often I go, and then like all I want is like a hot pretzel,
yeah.
and of course it's never hot, and it
They got to do like what Krispy Kreme does, where they have the hot light in the window. Because there's been times where like I feel bad. I'll tell my kids we're gonna get the pretzels, and then we go in, and I'm like, "Are these warm?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "All right, kids, pack it up." They look at me like I just ran over the Easter bunny.
yeah,
But
yeah. So yeah, so pretzels are like were always my go-to snack, because and I sometimes I have a craving for them, and I'll just go to the local, like, even when other sometimes I get work, and I'll go and I'll just replace like my snack meal with them. Like I'll get like a bag of like it's like 300 calories, and I'll replace it, and it's fine. And it's because if I don't have it, I'm gonna like keep craving it till I have it and drive myself insane. Um,
that was one of the problems. Is like we just had Teacher Appreciation Week, so we got a
mhm.
crate of pretzels that were free. And again, it comes down to my cheapness of they're like, "Oh, here, have as many pretzels as you want." And I ate two like super fast, and my stomach cannot handle two pretzels at this point. So it was literally like I almost collapsed with like a rock hard stomach, and was pretty much like, "Oh, why did I do this?" And it's like my old self just kicked in. I'm like, "Hey, free pretzels, eat as many as you possibly can consume because you'll never get a pretzel."
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's so easy to get down that, like, especially like once you start seeing it and you're like, and all of a sudden the bag's gone. And I'm like, great. Or like half of your what the gift you got, right, for teacher appreciation week, half of it's gone
Yeah,
and you're like, okay.
yeah.
Um so speaking of we'll go back to the weight loss. So throughout your journey, what have you had any like side effects of the weight loss? So some of the things that I list in these are like physical changes and non-physical changes. So physical would be
Yeah.
like, lose height, lose shoe size, because that happens. And then the non-physical are like, you lose people that were in your life because your habits and your routines changed, or you gained people. And a big one of that is you gain the Instagram community of weight
I
loss.
gained you, Brett.
You did gain
It's
me.
you, buddy.
It's me. And then and then also things like confidence. I'm just curious if you had any of those, I call them side effects.
Oh,
There might be a better phrase, but I'll go
side
with that.
effects makes it sound like I grew a third arm out of my
Yeah, I
back.
know.
So we may want to work on change that to like what are some of the things that you've enjoyed along this process. One of the things I struggled with is I didn't realize how much of my relationship I had with people surrounded around food and alcohol. So it was one of those things of, looking at my friends, we would go out, on the weekends and do everything. And it's been one of those where I'm like, guys, I can't do this anymore. Like I physically can't do it. And I was worried about it, but we've started to play pickleball on Sunday mornings. We'll go for walks. My friends are amazing. I've got my one friend Jared. He's one of those guys who just wakes up 5 a.m. every day naturally.
Eesh.
Yeah, I know it's never going to be me. Um, but he's one of those guys. He texts me every morning just to tell me like, get up. It's another day. You just got to get your grind on.
That's
Like
awesome.
oh my god, it's amazing.
So, so,
I
so,
got my
so real quick, what is pickleball for people that might not know?
pickleball is like tennis is like so. Uh, Tennis is to Sylvester Stallone as pickleball is to Frank Stallone. It's like the lesser, not as popular
Mm. And,
cousin. And
and
for all of you who know who
and,
Frank Stallone is, this analogy is totally explaining pickleball.
and we can tell that you're a teacher because you just used a.
Yes, I used an SAT prep still for you. Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine the viewership loving this one, but it's like a smaller tennis court, and you use like a paddle as opposed to a racket, and it's like a neon ball, but it's still a lot of movement,
Mhm.
but it's not as much movement as tennis, and it's just like tennis. You can play singles, doubles.
Okay.
So my brother Mike actually got me into it with his friends, and he had a whole community. And it's kind of like the Instagram community where they're always looking for more people. They're always happy with you. Like it's a happy place where no one gets mad at you except my brother. Uh, my brother's super competitive, but he's super loving. When Mike hears this, he's going to be like, why did you tell them that I yell at you? It's like, it's out of love. But like, he's also that guy is like, you're playing with me on the weekend and I'm teaching you how to serve properly. Because if you hit a serve out one more time, I'm going to hurt you. But no, it's one of those that, it's just a great sport. You can get about 10,000 steps in playing for like an hour and a half, and you'll burn calories nonstop.
Hmm.
But imagine just a smaller tennis court, but not as many walls as racket.
Yeah. So as soon as I hear pickle, I just shiver.
Oh, I forgot you have a thing about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna take you pickleball the next time I
Okay,
see
okay.
you.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to my pickle loving friends who know I'd hate them.
Also,
um,
you want to know a fun part? So you want to talk about creepy searching of the internet? Do you want to know what the main app for pickleball is?
no. I mean,
Pickle
what is
play.
it? What
It's
is
called
it?
pickle play.
Pickle
Pickle
play.
play. Like you want to talk about like who sat down and said, we need an app with the creepiest name imaginable for a community that doesn't really use apps, because you'll go to these courts and it's like White Man Can't Jump, where you'll see these like 60-year-olds doing this Uncle Drew thing where they're playing and they'll be like, oh, come on. Like you hop on, like you put your racket on the ball and you're the next up.
Hmm.
So, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not 90. I should be able to play with them. And they can hit it in perfect spots so that you can only return it in spots and then come right back and hit it again. But no,
Wow.
it's amazing. We're gonna play pickleball the next time I see you.
All right.
We're gonna find a court
I'm
on
game
Pickle
for it.
Play.
As long as you have an extra
Download Pickle
paddle
Play.
or whatever it's
Yes,
called. Okay.
I'll give you an extra paddle. We'll be good.
Okay. Sounds good. Um, so, uh, as far as health goals, like I kind of like to ask, like, what do you have any health goals this year? Like, it could be like, obviously you've lost a lot of weight already, so maybe it's like some events like a Tough Mudder or something like that? Do
No,
anything like that?
no. Um, so I'm having like a summer of Rob. My goal is I've been mapping out like my workouts and I've been mapping out my diet for the entire summer. And the doctor originally put me at, because I'm 5'11", my ideal weight would be 180 pounds and I wouldn't be overweight. I'd be normally sized.
Hmm.
So I'm going to commit the next like 3, 4 months to Labor Day to trying to hit that number. And I've come to terms with whatever number I hit. If I hit 180, I'm happy. If I don't hit 180, I'm happy as well. That's going to be like my cruising weight, whatever I hit, where I stay within 10 pounds of wherever my goal is.
Hmm.
But I look at it as right now, I'm happier that I'm taking my kids to the park. I'm running around with them. I'm going for walks with my friends and family. Like those are my goals. Is
And,
just to continue
and
to build my relationships.
and walks with people you never met before too.
Exactly. I walked with you like 2 weeks ago, and I was like,
Yeah, I know.
"Wow, the internet does exist." And I met people,
It's
and I
like
was
real
like, "This is
people.
weird." It's weird because they would ask me questions, I would ask them questions. Like I've never met you before, but I kind of know more about you than I know of other people, and
Yeah,
it's interesting because like you hear of all the creepers on the internet, and it turned out everyone was kind of normal.
yeah,
Meanwhile, everyone else is like, "That Rob guy is not coming back."
yeah. It was an interesting thing because there were six of us, and I was the only one that didn't have surgery or didn't have
Yeah.
the weight
Hey,
loss
good for
surgery,
you.
which was yeah. And I mean, everybody has their own journey. So, but
Yeah.
it was just kind of like at some point I realized it. I was like, that's kind of interesting. Um, but
You know
it's
what? It's just to talk on that too, though, Brett, is one of the things that's tough for me is when you go to support group, it's like 95% women. And shout out to the ladies, like you're doing a great job and it's awesome. But sometimes I just kind of want to talk to a dude. So it's kind
yeah,
of nice when you talk dude stuff, with other people, and it was nice. We got the
yeah,
fellas out there.
yeah. And we had some good conversations that we'll never talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so one thing I like to kind of get towards the end of the podcast on is a hobby or interest of yours that is not related to weight loss, because so many of us like we listen to podcasts about weight loss and then we don't know anything about the person other than weight loss. So I left it up to you, and you can tell me now what you want to talk about.
So tell you what, as a teacher, I'm going to give you options so you can have voice and choice in your
Of
lesson
course.
of how you want to go through your educational journey of learning with me, Brett. So, option one is going to be my love of the Philadelphia Eagles and Andy Reid, and why I think Howie Roseman is a good GM, but Andy Reid's the best coach we ever had. Option two is everything I enjoy about the Star Wars cinematic universe. And option three is the Marvel cinematic universe.
So I'm going to save the football one because I think we should have you back to closer football season. I think
It's a 17-part series, people. So I will have 5 of these just solely on football.
let's go with the Star Wars because I just talked to the Marvel one with Gormy a few weeks ago.
Oh, so I'm getting second fiddle on that. But see, this is why we give voice and choice, because you would have been tired doing the same thing over and over again. So this invigorates you to talk about something else.
Yeah, it depends which Star Wars movie we're talking about.
So Star Wars Day was May 5th or May 4th.
Fourth.
This is why I'm terrible on dates and times.
Honestly, Star Wars Day is really May 25th, which is the anniversary of the first movie coming out. But we'll go with it.
Womp
We'll
womp.
go with the Disney made up holiday.
Well, that's exactly. They own the rest of our lives, so let's let them make our decision. Um, Favorite Star Wars movie?
Empire.
Okay, yeah.
How about you?
It's New Hope or Return of the Jedi.
Oh, really? See, I just I have this
So
conversation often, and Return of the Jedi, just so much of it has been ruined for me over between the Ewoks and then between this, because it's the only version you can get in HD, special editions that have the stupid opening song thing that goes on.
closing
Uh,
song, you mean?
what was it?
Oh, that extra
Jedi
song
Rocks,
in
Jedi
Jabba's.
Rock, the Jedi
Yeah, the
Rocks.
opening song in Jabba's Palace, where
Yeah,
it's like, "Hey, here's an extra 30 minutes of music
just
video
kills
nobody
me.
needs to watch."
And I mean, I like most of that sequence otherwise, and then although Boba Fett gets taken out like a chump, although he's not dead.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert. Um,
yeah.
um,
This may air in 3 years, so
yeah.
there he might be. You don't know.
And then I also like the throne room stuff and the space battle. That's good, but it's all the stuff on Endor that just doesn't work for me over time. Like that's gone down a little bit for me. my hot take is that The Last Jedi is in my top 3,
Wow.
which is
Wow. And
usually gets.
it's been a great time talking to you. My Wi-Fi is going out. So here's my deal. The Star Wars are a war amongst the stars. So I want to see ships fighting and shooting. Like
Yeah,
it's like here's Top Gun in space is what I enjoy about
yeah,
it. Empire doesn't have that scene. And I get it. It's probably the best of the 3 movies, but
yeah.
that's just my take.
I think Empire has the most coherent. All 3 acts work the best together compared to the other ones. Jedi has the
Which
better
Luke and
space
Leia
battle.
kiss is your favorite one?
The second one.
Okay. I find it awkward because you watch the end of Empire too, and like he weirdly puts his hand like around the lower part of her back. And it's like I don't know if you know that's your sister yet or not, but it's also like you're using a robot hand to do it. So
Yeah. So I also I I'm assuming you did the same thing. So because we were too young to see it in theaters when they came out
yes,
originally, and I went and saw the special edition and like the first when they brought them out in like
of
97,
course.
98. And I loved it then because I was like, whatever, it's Star Wars, I don't care. um and then like slowly the whole Boba Fett showing up in A New Hope also bugs me. Um and also the Jabba scene in A New Hope bugs me because I'm like, you don't need that. Um
Sure, it doesn't make it bad. I will say, and
Oh,
I'll take the
it
opposite
doesn't
of it.
take away from it. I just don't like it. I just said it just bugs me. But
It's extra.
I will say that a lot of the special edition that they did right was the cleanup of like because it's just better. It looks better. A lot of it.
Yeah.
The the ending of Jedi with all the like CGI planets and stuff was a little bit much.
So here's my problem, and we're gonna go over this. So literally, the second Death Star blows up, right?
Yeah,
So does everyone break out into a party as soon as they find out about that, or is that supposed to be like 5 years later? Because here's my problem: if it's right after they're tearing down the Emperor Palpatine statue of Coruscant, there's still like a massive army and everything there. Like, why aren't they shooting? You're telling me the Galactic Empire isn't like shooting the people who are looting Coruscant?
yeah. Also, how many light years away is Endor from Coruscant?
I think
And
you learn. I think it travels quick though. It's like the internet.
it travels at the speed of plot. That's what it travels at.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, is the internet good or bad in Star Wars? Because you see, like, in the new prequels, it's like, oh, we can do these telecommunications, and it's like crystal clear HD, and you can see everyone through it. And then you go in like Empire, it's like, oh, by the way, we're in an asteroid field. We can't get a connection to the Emperor. Like, we got to move it up out of range of the asteroids.
I mean, that's what happens when a dictatorship takes over.
Yeah, telecommunications go down, man. It's
um,
rough.
so for Star Wars, I'm curious, the sequel trilogy, did you when you went back to see, I'm sure you saw it in the theater, right?
Of
The first
course.
one, at least The Force Awakens.
No,
Did you
I
go
see
back?
all of them.
Oh,
Here's the beauty of me is I enjoy them all so much it doesn't matter.
yeah,
I'm a George Lucas, Disney, take my money. You could make a whole Jar Jar Binks like special like CGI world, and I'll watch it. I might not tell everyone right away I'm watching it, but I'm watching it, and I'm
yeah.
probably gonna like it. So
So Force Awakens, when I saw that, I remember, 'cause so I worked in the movie theater for a while, and I worked there when I worked there for Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And Revenge of the Sith, I was, well, actually both. I was a projectionist at that point or manager, and so I actually saw them early.
oh,
And like
nice.
because you'd have to get the print in the day before and
Yeah,
build it up, and then you have to quality check it, which of course you have to quality check it.
that's convenient.
And a bunch of your friends get invited to watch it too. Uh,
Yeah.
but I remember it's a funny. So this is a funny side story. When I was so the day it was opening, like we were having our midnight show that Wednesday or whatever it was. Um, so I opened the box office and like we have a line of people outside ready to buy tickets because it
Yeah.
was at the time it was same day sales only, right?
Well, yeah, back in the olden days,
Yeah,
people, you would
2005.
sit out like a homeless man in front of a theater for 3 days and
Yeah.
totally not understand why your job fired you.
So
But
so I saw them out there, and it was like and I was just like, there was like a line, it was like 12 people, so I was like, I'll just sell them the tickets. I opened a little early to sell them the tickets, and the guy gets up there and he's like super nerd, right? He's got like his
yeah,
lightsaber, he's got his robe, He's like,
Yeah,
all
but like,
right.
but nowadays everyone does that and it's socially
Yeah.
acceptable.
Well,
Like back
yeah.
then, it would be like, get away from me, freak.
Well, we'd see him. We always saw him for midnight shows, but it was still weird. But so it's like not it's like 9:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I saw him. It's like and it's like, yes, I'm the first person in this theater that's gonna see Star Wars. I said, you and 400 others, and I said it, and and then I threw out. I said, and by the way, I saw it last night.
Oh, you like completely trolled him. That's just mean, Brett.
I did. It was mean, but
Big mean dude.
it felt good though.
Coming from a guy who eats all of his kids' Easter candy before Easter.
Yeah. So with the sequel trilogy, so when I went back and I watched, I obviously I did not see it the day before. I saw the first show that night that they had, and I remember watching it, and like the minute like the Star Wars music hit, because it had been 10 years
Yeah.
between the movies, and I kind of got like that goosebump moment where I just loved everything I was watching. Like I just was
Oh
all
yeah,
in.
it's
I
your
was all
childhood.
in, right? Yeah. So I was all in, and I was sitting there, and I was loving it, and Force Awakens I still think is decent. At the time I thought it was really good. And then The Last Jedi I like a lot. I know people don't like it, and I feel like it's mostly because they don't like what Luke Skywalker is in that movie. There are moments that are stupid. The milk scene, the Canto bite, and then if we have to talk about the last one, um, I hate that movie because
I
I
mean,
think
if you're just
it's so
going to
bad.
gloss over the fact that like Luke pretty much drinks from the teat of like this weird alien thing, and it was because here's the beauty of that is for a scene like that to get made, there had to be some sort of budgeting meeting, and they're like, all right, what do you need? I need something that looks like a blue flamingo, like a blue 600-pound flamingo.
Yeah,
And I need to have massive nipples coming out of its stomach, and I need Mark Hamill to suck from one to drink. What's that going to cost? $250,000 of CGI. Okay, yeah, let's make it happen. Like someone
yeah,
had to have that conversation, discussion, and like you'd think you'd be like, you know what, maybe we cut that out.
yeah. That always is jarring. I just overall like the story. And oh, I also hate Carrie Poppins in it when she's floating through space, like she's got an
Yeah,
umbrella.
they also killed Admiral Akbar, so it's like you guys are dead to me anyway. Give him a noble death. Let him ram the ship into the other ships. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
pretty much goes out like a punk.
he did. He was old. It was his time to expire.
Then give him a peaceful death. Show him passing on in his later years on his fish land of Mon Calamari. Like give him a peaceful death.
Yeah. So
Also, by the way, he's like 60 in that. Like at 60, you'd think he just retired. Like he's got a pension in the New
he's
Republic.
got a
Like
pension
just retire, man. You don't need to be flying and fighting ships.
in the New Republic. Isn't it the new First Order?
Well, no, that's the bad guy. So it's the
Yeah,
resistance. But what are they resisting if they used to be part of the government?
that's a good question. That's never been explained.
And this is why I do all my work out of my basement.
All right. Well, oh, real quick. So, what is since we went with favorite? What's your least favorite?
Huh. I don't know. I like them all. I guess Phantom Menace is the easy answer to give. Like
Yeah.
it's you don't really need any of it.
So mine would be I'm not counting the animated Clone Wars movie because that's awful. But
Well, that no, but the rest of that series is absolute amazing.
yeah, yeah. So I go with Attack of the Clones.
Really?
Until the battle on Geonosis, I think that movie is atrocious. I can't stand it. I rewatched them last year, and I was yeah, it was the toughest. I've come to appreciate Phantom Menace more and more, even though
What's
Jar
the
Jar.
more awkward sexual tension for you, Luke and Leia, or Anakin creeping on Padme Amidala, who's 10 years old?
Um, the latter because at least Luke and Leia didn't realize it.
Got it. So it's unknown incest as opposed to just the awkwardness of he's really pushing his agenda on her, and she really wants no business. Like there's
Yeah,
3 scenes in Attack of the Clones where she's kind of like, "Look, I see you as a child. Please stop like awkwardly standing so close to me."
yeah, and then later he's breaking her heart,
Yeah,
and she has the
yeah,
worst death scene in the history of cinema.
yeah.
So
She
yeah,
actually makes me root for her to be gone. It's sad.
yeah, and it's amazing. All right, so enough Star Wars talk for today. I feel like we covered a lot there, and
We
Hopefully,
unboxed a lot here.
and I didn't have to even talk about the last movie I hated. So, the last bit of the podcast, I like to do a segment called Brett's Corner, where I ask you 5 questions that are
Yes.
varied. So number 1, what is one movie, TV show, event, sporting event, physical event, anything that you're most excited for in the coming year?
I guess that Loki series premiere looks pretty good. I don't know what comes out anymore because they push it back and they change it with COVID and everything. So like Loki looks good. I want to see the new Top Gun if that ever gets released. There's the new James Bond that might never get released. You know, there's a lot of stuff they say they have. So I guess whenever I get that, I'm good.
Yeah, all 3. Oh, Bond and Loki, I'm definitely all in on because Loki looks amazing from the trailers and it looks different. Like that's what
Yeah.
I love about one of the other Marvel shows so far. So second question, what are 2 non-health related goals you have for the next year?
I don't know. So much of it is health related for me. You know, one of the statistics that like keeps me up at night is for weight loss surgery patients. You have a 50% chance of regain in your first 2 years, and that number only goes down to less than 10% after 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for me, it's the next 7 years. I'm kind of taking the approach of like my health and my fitness are my 2 top priorities. Really, I guess it's just spend more time with my wife and kids, be more present. Talking to them, it was weird how many things I said I would never do because I was big, but I would make bullshit excuses for. So it's kind of one of those like, I always said I hated amusement parks, but in reality, it was I couldn't fit on any of the rides. So,
Yeah. Okay.
you know, so it's stuff like that.
That's those are health related goals or non-health
Yeah,
related
so
goals.
they are.
So
So I didn't really answer your question, but we'll keep it pushing.
yeah. So number 3, if someone came to you say they're lacking motivation, inspiration, or whatever to stay consistent with their goals, what are 3 pieces of advice you'd give them?
Just keep going. And then I guess in true fashion, just keep going. And then just keep going. No, it's just don't quit. Like it's tough. I mean, every other time that it hasn't worked for me, it's because I quit at some
Mm-hmm.
and it's either because I'm doing a program that's not sustainable. And that's important is to figure out, can you do this for your lifestyle? Like, I don't know if I can hit 15K a day for the rest of my life. So maybe I do have a goal for that and I'll come back and after it's done, I'll do that. It's, you know,
Hey,
it's what can you do sustainable?
Yeah, definitely. And like Rocky said, quitters never win and quitting ain't you.
Yeah. You know, deep philosophical thought right there.
I mean, I do. I guess I speak it a little bit better than he does in the movies.
Yes.
So, all right. Question number 4: what have you discovered about yourself during your journey or transformation that surprised you the most?
You ever see the movie Office Space?
Yeah.
So I was hoping you'd give more of like, oh yeah, it's a good movie. You know, I really like. So
You want
it's
more?
okay.
Yes.
No, we're good. I'll
No,
take it.
Here, I'll give you. I think it's okay because it's got some great scenes that everybody knows, but then beyond that, it's not a very good movie.
I'll take the counterpoint of I love that movie and every little thing in that movie is magic. But you know how the whole plot is he gets hypnotized and he just doesn't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of how I feel. Like there's so many times where I'm like, that doesn't really work for me, so I'm not going to do it. Or, you know what? I don't feel like going and doing that thing, so I'm staying home. Or, you know, I have more confidence in just being myself and being able to do what I want to do.
Okay, that's cool.
That was a lot of work on a movie you didn't really like for me to just give you a 10-second answer. So it's
No,
okay.
no. I mean, I just the movie overall, I just never really. I don't know. It's got such memorable scenes though, so I like it.
Part 14 will just be me and you arguing about movies.
Oh, trust me, I could for days. All right, last question. It's if in 150 years science fails to save us and all that is left is a book about your life, what would the title be and what would the blurb tell us about Rob?
Could you just send me an email of all that you need me to know and I'll get back to you later? ... Please don't send me the email either.
Was that the blurb or was that the title?
That was the title.
Okay.
That was the title. The blurb would just be about like how much time do we waste in things that we just don't need to do, or we don't need to explain. I think I've realized from, being close to dying, like life's short. So take care of your business, do things as efficiently as possible. Because when you do free up your time, you have time for other things. So it's been like a freedom through discipline for me
Yeah.
is, by staying consistent and meal prepping and waking up early to work out, it frees me up throughout the rest of the day to get to other goals that I want to accomplish.
Does it ever amaze you how much extra time you have now that you have it more of a planned routine than you did
Oh God,
before?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I live in Google Calendars now, which freaks out the rest of my family. But like, I have blocks of this is what I'm doing all
Hmm.
throughout my day, so that I hit all my goals.
Yeah.
And it's obsessive. I'll admit it's borderline obsessive, but it also works. So it gives me an extra 3 hours at the end of the day that I can read to my kids, or I can take them for a walk in the park, or I can watch a movie with my wife. So
It's awesome. All right, Rob. Well, thanks for being on the episode today. I'm sure we'll see you again. I'm
we
sure
have
you have plenty more
16
to
more of
say.
these to record. So
Only 16. Um,
oh, okay. Brett has also given me a belt, and he has signed me for 32 episodes. This is great. This is so fun, Brett. Thank you.
you're quite welcome. So,
This will be one of the lost episodes he airs like 5 years later. This is what didn't work when we started this whole idea.
so, so people can get in touch with you if they want to, or if they don't want to. If they want to tell you how crazy you
Yeah.
are for liking Return of the Jedi over Empire, where can they reach you?
My latest history is my Instagram handle. That's the best place to get me. Also, we do a men's support live on Mondays to help anyone who has had bariatric surgery. We also have other ones that we touch upon things that aren't bariatric specific, but it's really just a place for men in the weight loss community to come together and discuss. If you need anything, you can find me there. It's Mondays at 9, unless they're not, and then they're at 8.
Yeah,
And
I gotta.
it's not this Monday because I'm going to my own support group for East to West, which is where I go to recharge my batteries. But by the
Well,
time this airs, I might be on a Monday.
yeah, this Monday it won't be on this Monday.
Okay, so I
Um,
might be there this Monday.
so I can attest that's a really good conversation that you've had. I've seen 2 of them so far. I don't know how
Thank
many
you.
you've had. Because I try to get on live because I prefer that when it's actually live. I can interact instead of just watching later. But yeah, it's a really good conversation with different people in the community, and bariatric or not, you can relate to a lot of it, right? Obviously, there are parts
Yeah,
that are specific for bariatric patients, but
you know what's been cool is you realize just how different everyone's life is on this journey. Like, so one of the ones, like we're having Dr. Joe Cribbins, who's one operation changed his life. So that's going to be a very bariatric specific one. But
mhm,
me and Sleeve Believe the Hype, like me and Ked, we ended up talking race for 30 minutes and
mhm,
just really got into what is that like, going out and moving in Atlanta after, everything that happened with Ahmaud Arbery. So
yeah,
it's been interesting to see how many different journeys there are along this walk, and just really getting a diversified plate of what goes on with that.
for sure. All right, well, we will see you all next time on Becoming More podcast, and we'll see Rob for one of the many more podcasts he's on the next time he's on.
32 episodes. We're going to do a live when Brent delivers the belt to me. So everyone stay tuned.
See ya.